4 games on the road, trying to close out with a victory with a tough amount of effort to going in tonight. Not enough to get it done. Final score 127-110. Your Wizards fall to the Oklahoma City Thunder in Oklahoma City. Wes Hall, joined with Christy Winters-Scott, will be bringing in Chris Miller, Glenn Consort, and Megan McPeak here momentarily. But Christy, this is one of those games that we talked about it as soon as we started. Like that first quarter, the Wizards scored 17 points. And I said, this is going to be one of those nights.
Right, absolutely. And it started tough for Washington in terms of getting things going. And it started on the defensive end. They didn't have enough resistance in the paint to begin the game. Gave up 62 paint points as a whole for the game. And Washington on the other side just had 52 paint points, but couldn't get their three-point shots to fall. Only 28% from three for Washington after giving up almost 46% of threes for OKC. So when it all is said and done, the grit and fight came forward for Washington. Jordan Goodwin came in and really had a magnificent effort for Washington, but they just didn't have the succinct ability, if you will, of those energy plays and those grit plays that they needed to come out with the win tonight.
And to me, that, obviously you want to get in passing lanes on defense, but on offense, that's where that spark came from. Absolutely. My concern is on the defensive side for the Wizards. It just seemed like you could not stop SGA or any of the Thunder guys that wanted to attack and get inside the paint and really put up points. That's why they had 35 in the first quarter.
Absolutely. And that's what I said at the beginning. The resistance of defense in the paint just wasn't there initially. And I think there were some miscommunications on defense as well. But they corrected that. It got better. But they were already in such a hole at the beginning of the game. It's tough to dig out of that. And even when he's guarded very well, there were some tough shots that OKC was making. I mean, they dropped in a ton of threes tonight as well, and they were able to score off of Washington's 20 turnovers. So that was an issue as well. Even though Washington took better care of the ball in the second half, you can't dig yourselves a hole and have those second opportunities off of steals. Being able to push, I thought that was like a big issue as well, getting points off their offensive boards. OKC did a tremendous job. I think both teams had 11 offensive rebounds, but OKC really paid off getting those second chance points inside.
Indeed, all 5 scorers for Oklahoma City in double figures, 4 out of the 5 for the Wizards. And you look at the bench points, the Wizards actually outscored Oklahoma City off the bench. I think it was 41-32. Oh, yeah. Look at us. 41-31, excuse me. So forgive me again. I want to bring in Chris and Glenn and get their thoughts on tonight, too, because, this is a 4-game trip, as we talked about, and you want to finish on the road as best you can. Glenn, where did you see this one take a left turn for the Wizards, and how do they correct that for Monday?
Well, first of all, it was really the turnovers, to me, was the story tonight, because you look at what the Thunder did defensively. The Thunder really was the aggressor of this game. So they created 20 turnovers that came to 32 points. 32 points, that's a big, big number. Conversely, we talked about who was going to be the aggressor. The Wizards only created 10 turnovers. They only got 9 points off those turnovers. To me, that was the big difference. But give credit where credit is due. The Thunder came out. They were the aggressor on defense right off the bat, to the extent that the Thunder took 98 shots. The Wizards only took 79 shots. It's tough to come back when a team is dictating the pace of the game like the Thunder did.
I think you all guys have said it, and you've been correct. That first 12 minutes really set the tone with this, again, youngest team in the NBA. By the way, missing a lot of their front court help. So thinking Washington had the advantage, they did out-rebound them by 5. But the problem was the pace of play was advantage OKC. There's 2 things I jotted down. We talked about this in the pregame show. OKC is second in the league in points off turnovers. They get about 20 a game. They got 32 tonight. They're third in the league in terms of paint points, getting 55 a game. They had 66 tonight. They just set the tone early, and the reason I thought the Wizards could get back into the game, I like the adjustment by putting Jordan Goodwin in the game. Christy, you talked about that to start the third quarter. It just wasn't enough defense. Wizards went on a 12-0 run with 8 minutes left in the game, and they were down 14. They just could never – they could score. They outscored them 68-59 in the second half, but it's what they did in those first 12 minutes that really set that tone.
Chris, you're absolutely right, and you mentioned Jordan Goodwin. It was one of those things that we said at halftime. It was about energy, and you could see the energy that he infused when he got on the court tonight, even though he only had 9 points on the board. You could see that he was lighting up every other department on the scoring board. You had the assist.
What I like about him, what I like about him most is there was a stretch of games where he just didn't play, and he was sitting on the bench, and he never once complained. And as soon as he got that start in the third quarter, Glenn and I were talking about it during the broadcast. What did he do? He got a steal. He got a bucket. He got into the passing lanes. He's doing all the things that Jordan Goodwin normally does when he was getting all that time when Wizards players were out due to injury. And I actually thought it might have even sparked Daniel Gafford, because Gafford didn't start the third quarter, and I thought Gafford got better as the game went on. It just wasn't enough time for the Wizards to make a run because, look, that OKC team over there, they're young, but
they're fearless.
They put 150 on the Celtics, guys. I watched that game on Tuesday night.
With no Shea.
No Shea.
Christy, what do you think about Gaff?
Hey, no, I love Gaff. I mean, he has 5 consecutive games now, guys, where he has scored more than 10 points. And with his insertion into the starting lineup and with his insertion with Kristaps Porzingis in there, I think that his impact has been invaluable. I think defensively, he is all over the place. He's flying around. He's active. He's an energy giver as well. For as much as Jordan Goodwin does that on the perimeter, Daniel Gafford does it inside. I mean, he has power plays. He has momentum plays for Washington. He was 7 of 8 from the floor. He almost had a double-double with those 9 rebounds, but he makes himself available to the basketball. Pick and roll opportunities. He has great hands inside, but more pick and roll opportunities for a player like Daniel Gafford where he can make slice cuts down from the nail and finish strong at the rim at a high percentage. That's what he does well. Get more of those actions his way.
Christy, I think they're going to look back, and those offensive rebounds killed the Wizards tonight. And there were a couple of times there where Daniel gave up position on those offensive rebounds for them to get those second chance opportunities. But offensively, like you said, he's been really good here of late.
You know, we talked in the open about the Wizards using their length with the 2 big guys as an advantage, especially in a game like this. Well, we didn't see it because the Thunder went small. They pressed all over the place. They sped up the tempo of the game, but that didn't mean the Wizards, couldn't apply that type of defense on the perimeter.
Right.
I thought, and I was saying this during the course of the game, get the ball into KP in the low post, in the low block, or Gaff in the low block. Use that size. We just didn't see it.
Yeah, going back to what Kyle Kuzma said just a couple of games ago, they have to check us too. They have to check us too. So if you have an advantage with size, then go to that size on the offensive side. And I thought Daniel Gafford, 7 of 8 from the floor, I thought he did, but double his opportunities up and it could be a different story, right? Can he get 16 touches? Can he get 15, 16 touches where they are shots selected by him, where he can get in the paint and score at a high percentage? I just think, the pick and roll opportunities when you have a bigger lineup, when other teams go small, they have to match the size of a Kristaps Porzingis and a Daniel Gafford in there. And I think they could have probably done a little bit more of that.
Yeah, I just think once things got derailed early, it made the Wizards adjustment to what their plan was. It changed the course of everything. Chris and Glenn, thank you guys so much for hanging out with us on Postgame Live. We'll see you guys on Monday back in D.C. taking on the New Orleans.
We can come home now?
Yes, you can come home.
Come on.
Come on back. Enjoy your share of safe travel, gentlemen. We appreciate it as always.
All right, y'all take care.
Guys.
Christy, we're talking about something that actually I want to dig deeper into.
Yes.
We talk about Porzingis and Gafford. They're 5-1 coming into this game. They're 5-1 together now.
Right.
Obviously, with them both starting today in this loss, they're 5-2. I personally don't want to count this one. And here's why.
Talk to me.
You're getting the 14 and 10. You get a double-double out of Porzingis, and you almost had a double-double out of Gaff. Here's why I don't want to count it.
Okay.
Because of that first quarter. Because they really weren't playing our game. At that point, we're down 35-17 in the first quarter. We're playing OKC's game.
Right.
And it's really a complete diversion from what we originally set out to do. So it's hard for me to grade what they look like because remember, on the second half, guess who got the start?
Yeah.
Porzingis slid down to the 5. Kuz slid to the 4. You saw Goodwin come in at the 2, and Kispert moved to the 3.
Absolutely. But I think what you said in the pregame show, when you asked me what is it going to be, or should the Wizards slow down the pace of play to try to slow down what OKC wants to do, or try to match that and go at them and push tempo? Now, I don't care who's on the floor in terms of position, in terms of height and whatever else, but pace of play is dictated on defense. Okay, I don't care what 5 players are on the floor. It's dictated by your energy and effort on the defensive end in terms of getting in the passing lanes and creating opportunities. Now, OKC forced 20 turnovers by Washington and scored 32 points off of those. And Washington, they didn't do the same thing. So you can get the pace that you want from your defense, from your glass work, but also in the quarter court, take advantage where you have the advantage inside.
Another place we can say that we pretty much had a unique opportunity. It was at the guards position. I know we talked about Jordan Goodwin getting some quality minutes tonight, but look at the productivity of these three right here. Monte Morris, DeLon Wright, and Jordan Goodwin. Points combined for 28 points tonight. You can see the rebounds right there is at 6, but the assist, everybody contributing. The steals, DeLon Wright leading the force, as we talked about in pregame live about deflections and turnovers created on ball defenders. How do you gauge their collective effort tonight, Christy?
Well, it's a three-headed monster, right? It's a point guard by committee situation with these three. They came in, this trio was high percentage from the floor. They were great in terms of their defensive aggression. But I think when all is said and done, you have to have that balance. You have to have the balance of those three guards who come in and star in their role, and that's what they did tonight. They were all solid in what they bring to the table, and their skill sets prove that. But you also have to have complements to what they are doing on the perimeter on the interior. And I thought that they just didn't sustain that level of production and impact on the inside. Monte Morris got going from the outside, especially in the second half, got the ball moving and got the ball popping, and the off-ball movement is where it is. Pick and roll opportunities is where it is, but you have to have proper spacing, and at times I thought Washington didn't have the opportunities because the spacing was too tight in the paint. Like, you have to have somewhere to work with. If you're doing a two-man game, you got to have that clear out on the weak side, and then sometimes it was just a little bit too tight up the lane line. But they didn't have opportunities to attack the way they could have because the spacing sometimes was improper.
Indeed, indeed. Great breakdown, Christy. I appreciate that. And again, we wanted this to be a victory tonight, but we have to make adjustments and move forward. But right now, I want to go to head coach Wes Hall Jr. at the post-game podium and his thoughts on tonight's game.